promise, we are going to get into the men's preview for USAPL Mega Nationals. Last week, we released the females. This week, we have the males. Steve DeNovi, Solana Lewis, how are you two doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited.
I'm doing good. I want to say I'm excited, but I am hearing another 4.5 hour episode.
Yeah, well,
we already knew this was going to be a marathon all the way through, but we're our second episode in. We still got ITF Worlds. We still got more podcasts to do to hype up USAPL Raw Nats. This is going to be a doozy. Yep. I know Solana was cramming in a bunch of work in her predictions, I think, today, trying to get all this stuff in. For the listeners, me and Solana actually put in data and predictions and research. Angelo just shows up.
Yep.
Pretty much.
And this one, too, I actually don't think you guys should put that much data into it. I think you guys should just go and speak.
Oh, no.
Art tells you, because I have no data, but I have a shit ton of things to say about, especially the male lifters.
I have a very much say that's what people like, is they like the fact that you are #bad journalism and just speak off of raw emotion, and then the other guests actually have some type of ability to spell trapezius.
I fully agree.
I am not fully convinced you guys both know how to spell trapezius. See, exactly.
Trapezious.
You could be wrong. I have no idea how to spell it. So
exactly.
So. All right. Well, I guess that could have been a flex.
Steve, how much time do you spend putting in data? Like, how much time do you spend for men?
The men was a bit easier because men, again, we say this every time, men post more. They have to flex more what they're doing, so it's a bit easier to see, as well as just inherently. I probably look more closely to some of these men, just like Solana probably looks more closely to some of the women, because we relate to them better. That's just natural that we do that. So there's probably some of these men that I talk to them. We also talk to them in DMs all the time. So it's a little bit easier for the guys. I'd probably say, since Harrison helped out, that's a big help. Since he got all the past Since he got all the past information, which usually takes me 2 to 3 hours, it only then took me 2 to 3 hours to do the predictions.
Okay, I feel a lot better because I was like, I have been here for 3 hours. I pray to God, Steve doesn't tell me 20 minutes or like something ridiculous where I'm just like, oh.
Definitely not. 2 to 3 hours.
I went to sleep doing it, woke up, started doing it again.
Used to be 4 to 6 because I'd have to get all the past meet data and just literally just type it in from open powerlifting, which I knew there had to be a better way. I don't know what Harrison did, but if he found a better way to auto-populate or find that data easier, because I would just have to go in and copy it in each time.
One thing I want to say, though, for the woman, like, I used to be like, yo, I'll never post my lifts. Now that I'm doing this, guys, if you want to be talked about, post your freaking lifts, please. This was hard. And there's half of y'all who did not post, but half of y'all did, and it was great. But if you want to be talked about in a way that is quote unquote fair, or a way that's like, oh, if they didn't know that I did this, like, post it and then I'll know, and then we talk about it. Just saying.
Yes, I laugh every time someone says they're like offended because we say we don't know what they're doing because they're not posting. This isn't like the NFL where there's so many media outlets that we're going to be able to find out whatever you're doing at any point in time. There's no idea any of us know. We just have to freaking guess, and we do our best of our ability.
Or just DM me privately. I won't tell the world, and I'll just tell them on the podcast, but I won't show it to the world. It's all good.
Well, I think when we did it last year for the March Madness stuff, people started to reach out to us more and started telling us, like, started posting more and telling us more about their training. And like, most people were cool about it because we told them flat out, like, we don't know what's going on. But the thing is, I think the difference between men and women, if we do it to the males, you're going to get, and probably particularly from the 75 kilo weight class, because this is how they're wired. I'm being slept on. I'm being overlooked. I'm not given the respect and attention I deserve. And females are kind of like, okay, whatever. Fucking, we don't care. Like, we could be overlooked and slept on all we want. We don't really have that big of a concern for it. But I would say there's a greater chance of someone making a post after the men's episode of their being overlooked and slept on as opposed to females, and also fans of those lifters. I guarantee you somebody's going to say, I think you guys are overlooking this person. And when they say we're overlooking someone, really, they just want us to give more compliments to their friends or their favorite lifter. And I'm like, I don't know how, you guys don't understand what being slept on and overlooked means, but that's sports journalism. It's full of bad journalism and these weird nuances. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. And, the data part to me is not as important for the males because I can just kind of spit off some hot takes about a lot of these lifters and just what I feel based on me following them on social media and talking to them. A lot of it's going to be just through interactions, maybe training with them. And that's why it comes a little bit easier for this. So, and to start here, I think we already had a really good pre-competition with all these lifters at collegiate and junior nationals. We have a stacked junior primetime for the men, where the females has 2 really good lifters on the raw side. This has potential to be a fantastic kickoff to Mega Nationals with the juniors, particularly in the 82.5 kilo weight class. And there's a couple other, there's, what is that, 275 kilo lifters?
175 kilo and 190 kilo lifter.
Okay. Yeah. So this one is going to be a show of 82.5 kilo lifters. And I think the headline right off the bat, Jarvis and Chris going at it again. That was a close battle at collegiate nationals. Chris pulled it off. Jarvis had some problems with depth, but we saw Kyle Dawson saying it the entire time. Then you have the addition of Seth Suzuki, who has a monster pull on top of that, so you don't know what's going to happen with him. And then in the 75 kilo weight class, you have Kevin Garrett, who I have no idea what his top end strength is because everything looks so damn easy for him at nationals. So we got a lot to talk about here. Steve, Jarvis, and Chris. Did you pick Chris last time?
I did. I'm going to stop you, though, keep saying Jarvis and Chris and say that Kyle is very much a part of that, too. We overlooked him last time, and he tried to pull for the win.
You're right. He did.
So, yeah, I mean, I did pick Chris last time. You picked Jarvis. We'll see what happens this time. Maybe we'll flip-flop back and forth. I mean, neither of them had a great meet. Both of them underperformed what they're capable of. I mean, looking at what they're doing in the gym, it's well over what they did at that meet. It's honestly about who executes better. And that includes Kyle, too, because he missed a third squat where I think he likely reached a little bit. He tried to jump from 622 to 644. If he would have taken a little less, maybe that means he doesn't have to pull as much, and he could have won that. Seth Suzuki, that will be interesting because obviously he wasn't, I mean, he was pushed at the very end. Like, seemingly he wasn't pushed very much because people were missing lifts. And then all of a sudden, Trey Ricard hits that insane deadlift, makes Seth have to hit that third deadlift to win it. But he had more in the tank there. So, yeah, this one, I mean, the interesting thing, too, is this is on dots. Even though we're talking about a bunch of 82 kilo lifters, this time is not about which 82 totals the most. It's about who has the best DOT score, which obviously Kevin's in that too. We also got Donovan Spears and Jordan McKinley. Maybe, I mean, I didn't see anything necessarily that would say that, like, I think they can make the jump to where I think likely you're going to have to go 520 plus on dots to win this. I didn't see anything necessarily that said that they could. Maybe they prove us wrong. I mean, the people I see most likely based off of what I saw in training was Jarvis, Chris, and Kyle. Seth's hard to gauge because guess where he goes? University, which one? I'm waiting for someone to guess.
Midland.
Yes, he goes to Midland, so he doesn't post very much. He had a couple posts, but they're all sub-max. Kevin hasn't really posted either, so I can't gauge anything off of what he's doing. But Jarvis and Chris and Kyle are both very active on social media, and they're all hitting huge numbers. I mean, it comes down to Jarvis and Chris have the biggest upside. If they hit their list, I'm not sure Kyle has the top-end strength to match them. But Jarvis, the big question mark is squat depth. It was squat depth going into the meet. He had an issue with that and almost bombed out. He has since changed shoes. It does look a little better. I'm going to say it looks borderline, but it looks a little bit better, at least from the front view. And then Chris is absolutely smoking training. Honestly, I don't necessarily know exactly kind of what he felt maybe went wrong on the day, because he obviously doesn't have the same variables I feel like Jarvis has. But I have both of them very possibly going. These projected totals are going off the wrong thing. That's screwing me up. Let me fix this.
I noticed that.
Around 1,700. I've got Chris at 1,710. I've got Jarvis at 1,700. I've got Kyle Dawson 1,681, and I've got Seth Dasuki 1,667, and then Kevin in there 1,550, 37. Obviously, he's a 75 kilo lifter. That's going to change it. Jarvis did weigh a little less, so that comes into play, but not by much. But honestly, it's whoever hits lifts. That's going to be the key here. I think that Jarvis and Chris are obviously the favorites here going into it. If one of them hits their lifts, they're probably likely taking it home and really going to have to push everyone else is going to have to be pushed to be able to kind of match that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think this time you're going to see executed lifts from both of them. I think they're going to fix some of their space. I think Jarvis's depth looks a lot better. At Nationals, I think his third attempt was the perfect squat depth, and it looks like he's more consistent with that in training. I do think that you get a little lower on meet day. I do think that it just happens to lifters. Like, as long as you're not squatting noticeably high in training, I think if you're borderline the entire time, I mean, a lot of us made a career off that, right? Like, Russ is borderline most of the time in training, and, he finds it on meet day, minus 2019 Raw Nationals. But at IPF Worlds, he's borderline, but then he sinks at IPF Worlds. I think Jarvis's depth will be fine, and that will dictate his squat, and I think you'll get into their big bench, and that's their bread and butter lift, is their bench, and they're going to be battling out there. Once it comes to pull, then it starts shifting towards Kyle and Seth, because they have the big pulls. So it does come down to they would have to go 5 for 6, 6 for 6, and get them in a position to hit some PRs on deadlift and not have to worry about Seth and Kyle's pulls. And particularly Seth. Seth has a monster pull. I think he can go over 750 on the day.
Yeah, I don't know 750. He hit 723. It looked good. I don't know if he had another 27 pounds in him. I think 735 to 740, which, again, that gets him right in the picture. But that's why this one's going to be so interesting. I wonder if anyone's going to do any type of weight cut. I personally wouldn't, but I wonder if anyone's going to do any type of weight cut to kind of try and gain a dots advantage, because obviously that's a big part of this, is that you could sense total less, but still win, a la Angelo versus Gruden last year, or Gruden out dots or out IPF scored you at the time. You out totaled him. I think there's some benefit here that Chris and Jarvis had kind of their bad meat because they learned from it. Mm-hmm. I think both. I'm not going to say both are going to go 9 for 9, but I definitely expect both of them to have better meats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I did not watch Bleach. So I was looking at
wow. That's some bad journalism there.
It is. I have to see something about this. I went on their Instagram.
Well, Solana, I'm gonna have to tell you, because I'm going to talk about someone right now that you have to go and watch. Everyone needs to go and dig up this 6 hours of footage, I think, on that one day that the 75 kilos lifted, and watch Kevin Garrett. Kevin Garrett was really, really good. That was his second meet. I don't know if he has what it takes to get top 3, but honestly, I do not know. He is a wild card. His lifts look effortless. His numbers, I think he might have left 20 kilos on the table. That's how good his lifts were. And I'm telling you guys, watch it. If you did not watch Kevin Garrett's performance, watch it, because it just doesn't. It feels like he just doesn't know yet how strong he is, and that happens, especially once you're second meet. He's coached by Alex Ono, goes to LSU. I believe he's a cheerleader on top of being a power lifter, which is difficult to do. That takes different kind of strength. He has a lot of explosive power. Really, if he jumps into top 3, though, that might be my wild card pick to jump into the top 3. I don't think he has the dots to hang with Jarvis and Chris, but this guy is someone to watch, and they were taking insane jumps too. Alex was taking ridiculous jumps the entire time, or they were taking, because they just didn't really know where exactly he would lie on his third attempt, and everything looked RP9 for his third attempt. So I implore you to watch that. And this is just going to add to a really stacked matchup here. And Donovan Spears, again, he's actually a teen lifter who got into the junior spot. Really strong. He's a tank. I think his days are going to be in the 90s, but I think if they continue with this junior primetime thing, he's going to eventually get his pro card as a junior with this, because he might be the youngest one here. I know Kevin Garrett's pretty young, but Donnie might be one of the youngest.
Donovan and Jordan, I think both came through with the team bid, because 4 teen or high schoolers were able to get in through the teen nationals and high school nationals. I think both of them were teens. I'm not sure how young, but teenage.
Solid.
All right, yeah, that makes sense there. I think with Donovan, I think if you look at him, he's just big. He's just a tank. 90 kilos is possibly a division he could do really well in the future. He's already a great 82.5 kilo lifter. Like Joe Bornstein, him, Limerick, they all had such really good meets at that teen level, and I think they're going to eventually just kind of dominate or get into the top 3 in their weight class within the next 2 to 3 years. That's how good they look. I mean, we're about to talk about the 75s relatively soon, but you already see one with Joe Bornstein in there. So I'm curious to see what Donovan does. Steve, do you have any other information on Jordan?
I don't.
Okay. Yeah, because I see a lot of NAs here. Is he just a person who doesn't post, or?
I didn't get too much information on kind of what his numbers were. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, are we ready to do some predictions here for the junior primetime spot?
Yep.
All right. Who am I going to pick first? I'm going to have Steve go first.
All right. For the fun of it, I'm going to flip it this time. I'm going Jarvis. Taking first. If he would have hit his squats, and based on the easy 551 was, I thought his top end strength looked better on the day. I thought strength-wise, he had the ability to win. It's just that one squat went wrong because of depth. And then on deadlift, he had to overreach. I think he had to try and go pull 716 to win or something like that. And he had to overreach there when he likely had something like 690-ish to maybe 7. So I think Jarvis has the top end strength. I'm going Chris second. And then, honestly, Kyle's training is going really well. I like the repeat of them top 3 again. I just don't know enough about what Seth is doing because he doesn't post as much, as well as just the fact that if I'm looking at top end strength, he wasn't on par with Chris and Jarvis at that meet. And the same thing with Kevin. He could come in and make some significant progress, and we don't even know. Because again, I just didn't see much posting from him. I think he's newer and obviously making some pretty rapid progress. But I like the situation of looking at Jarvis, Chris, and Kyle Dawson. I think Jarvis first, Chris second, and then Kyle. He's probably going to have to reach a little bit because his top end's not quite where Jarvis and Chris is. If he pulls a miracle deadlift, it wouldn't surprise me. But I'm going to put my money on Jarvis.
Nice.
All right.
Well,
to have more fun here, I'm going to flip it from my previous predictions. I'm going to go Chris number 1, Jarvis 2, and I'm going to put Kevin Garrett 3rd on this one. I want to see the wild card get in there for 3rd, and I really do think, based on his dot score at his last meets, I think he could get into it. It's a wild card move. I don't know what's going to happen exactly with how he progresses from collegiate nationals. He's new to the sport. Maybe the travel gets to him. Who knows? Or maybe he's just that damn good. Maybe we're looking at the next Austin Perkins. It really looked like that when he was competing. He looked like a freak. So I'm going to put him 3rd. And then Chris with his the reason I'm putting Chris number 1, I love his training right now. His training is looking dialed in, locked in. I'm liking Jarvis too, but Chris right now, I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing from him. And I don't think he has the variables to worry about, like squat depth and possibly sinking it a little bit lower than he's used to and not getting that rebound strength. That's another thing with squat depth that I try to tell people. Sometimes you cut it short and then you have to get a little bit lower on meet day. It kind of messes with your actual strength because you just don't have the strength to get out of the hole. I think Chris just has less to worry about at that. And they're almost the same exact lifter. Big bench, big squat, And then when it comes to deadlift, it's Seth Suzuki's game. But I just like Kevin Garrett. I just want to see what Kevin Garrett can do, and I think we're going to see a great meet from him. How about you, Solana?
I'm going Chris, and then Charvis, and then Kyle. I just like people who are more consistent, so if that's the problem, I'm probably not going to put you at first place. So Chris, and then Kyle posts his lifts, and Kevin doesn't. So I went with Kyle.
Where does Kyle Dawson go, Steve? Do you know?
I don't know. It's not like a collegiate team necessarily. I think he's more one-off. Let's look. I know he's always in that school gym with those rubber plates. Let's see if it says here.
Yes, he is.
UNL. I don't know what UNL is. Oh, Nebraska Lincoln. It looks like.
Well, shout out to UNL. You just gotta. You just
I
got
don't
the
know,
best.
UNL. I think it's Nebraska.
Oh, it's University of Nebraska. Cornhuskers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Looks like he just graduated. I don't know if he's.
Oh, congratulations.
But yeah, Nebraska.
All right. We got a Cornhusker in there. This is going to be fun, though. This is going to be a really good way to kick. If you want to, usually when you do an event, you want to start off hot. You want to start off with something big. I think Junior Primetime is something to get people fully engaged, really excited for it. And it's going to be a nice appetizer to what we see from the entire week. I'm incredibly excited for the men and female on Junior Primetime. All right. Let's go on to the 52s. So we're going to be a little bit short on this one because there's not a whole lot to discuss. It's not a new weight class. It's one of the old weight classes, but there's not going to be a whole lot of lifters in the 52s.
There's one. There's total.
Yeah.
It's not just prime time.
Okay.
Total.
Okay, so it's actually one. So we're doing
literally one.
So we're doing this bad. This is where I actually should do research. When I look at the Google sheet, like we're obviously not putting in every single lifter. We're putting the lifters in who we think who could win, who could play top 3. I thought this was the only person who could win. I mean, technically that's true.
Well, yes, you're correct. Yes, you're correct.
I wish that dude from Collegiate Nats who competed at 52 comes and starts competing. That would be awesome. I want to see him come pull his 20 kilos on squat his 20 kilos on, and then bench 20 kilos and then pull 100, and he gets a silver medal. Silver medals at Raw Nationals.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Forget his name. I'm forgetting, but the legend from Louisiana Lafayette.
Yeah, the Raging. He is the Raging Cajun. He flexed after a 275 deadlift or 275 pound deadlift. You gotta love that. Attempting the bar. Well, I mean, maybe that's. I don't know. I don't want to be too mean here, but that's what maybe we should do. We should. I mean, what happened at lifter, Louisiana Lafayette lifter, was they just found a guy on campus who looked about 52 kilos, and they're like, "Hey, you want to power lift? All you got to do is just hit the bar twice and then do whatever you want to do on deadlift, and you'll win just based on no one else has signed up." We should find a guy in Vegas who could do the same thing. Well, and just
too late now, but yes, it is confirmed. That is literally what they did.
Guys,
oh my
it's
God,
Vegas.
Really?
It's Vegas.
You can literally what they did. Confirmed.
Yeah, that was. I thought Steve was feeding me a line of shit, but he was totally right on
that was my theory. Until someone from Louisiana Lafayette messaged me and said, "Yes, that's exactly what we did."
Yeah, because I was amazing. Because I was like, "That's mean, Steve. Take it easy." And they're like, "No, we did that." I'm like, "All right." My face during that entire prime time, or not that during that session, was priceless. And Steve, of course, was poking me the entire time, like trying to get a response out of me, because I was refusing to commentate his lifts because I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I was getting DMs like, what the hell's going on? Like, did this guy just hit 275 pounds and flex on the crowd? And I'm like, okay, I don't want to bury him. His family could be watching. I don't want to do that. But yeah.
But getting into the person who's actually competing. Joby Trong is the only 52 kilo male. As long as he doesn't bomb out, he is your national champion. I saw no posts on social media, so I have no updates. He put out 1,031 total back in February. So yeah, I mean, it's uncontested. I don't really have much to say. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm picking him to win. First place. Any other predictions?
Angela, you're next.
Oh, thanks. I was trying to think of something witty to say, and I can't. Yeah, I guess. I'm trying to think of like a really small powerlifter who I can make fun of right now and say that, like, I don't know. I think, but there isn't one. Jojo Kilos.
I'm surprised you didn't say, Steve, can you not enter that class?
Well, you're
missing out on opportunities here.
Yeah, but you're clearly not 52. I mean, you're 6'2" and like 75 kilos. That's crazy. But
That's what I was thinking.
you're in that weight class range, but I think 52 is just too much. I know they were trying to make this like to encourage more youth.
Yeah, I thought this was supposed to be just a youth class, but it is being contested and open, and Joby Trong is going to be your national champion as long as he hits a squat, a bench, and a deadlift.
Nice.
And all right. I'm going to assume you're picking the same, so we'll move on to 56. And 56 isn't much different. There's only 2 total, and they're both in prime time. We got Michael Gordiano and then Aiden Cusack. This could be interesting. They're only separated by about 10 pounds on nominated total. Michael just competed for his first time in March. I really didn't see any posts from him to be able to gauge anything, but I'm just giving him another 2.5 kilos on each lift, giving Aiden another 2.5 kilos on each lift. It's going to be close. It'll be about a 5-kilo battle. Aiden definitely does post. I didn't really see anything that I can make some strong predictions on other than he started to say that his bench is feeling a bit better. Yeah, I don't know if you got anything else, but this one's pretty simple as well. We're just picking between 2 lifters.
That was really it. Like I said, Aiden posts. I have him shipping everything by 2.5 kilos, and then I'll bring it to like a 997 total. And then Michael doesn't really post. So even if he gets what he had coming in, he would still beat Aiden with my predictions.
Hey, I want to point out though here the 52 kilo lifter Joby, his total's higher than the 56 kilo lifters. So
that is true.
Hey. All right, well, you know what? Put some respect on Joby's name. Because I think that was a little bit short with him. I mean, perhaps we're looking at quite the impressive 52 kilo lifter. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be very little that I could add in here. I would go Michael, Aiden. Hopefully they're listening. We get some new fans of Two White Lights, but just not a whole lot.
I know
really.
Aiden's a fan. He reposted the episode today.
Aiden, no, I know Aiden. Never mind. I know Aiden. Okay. Yeah, I know. I know who you're talking about. They're gonna grow into their weight classes. I think. I don't think they're gonna be 56 for long. I think you're gonna I think it because they're both really young lifters, correct?
Yeah,
I know Aiden for sure. I don't remember about Michael.
Double check.
All right.
Double check Michael.
Yeah, because I mean, if you have that, then you're probably gonna see him 67.5, 75 just at a point because people, gain weight.
Yeah, different mic came up.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right. So for 56, did you guys give your predictions?
I go Michael and then Aiden.
I got the same. Michael and Aiden.
All right. Looking at the totals here, because I know Aiden, I'm going to say that he's going to win. Or I'm familiar with the handle. I know who that is. All right. So on to 60 kilos. Now this one, we're going to see some past past really good performances for some of these lifters. Last year, Kurt Navarro, Kenneth Imperial, competed at nationals. Were in the thick of things. Huáscar Carpillo, though, at the Arnold, a very good performance, and he kind of made himself the top contender here for the 60 kilo weight class.
Yeah, he's the heavy. Yeah, he showed out. The only thing I'll say, he did post a story the other day that looked like after he deadlifted, he was babying his hamstring a bit, and he kind of alluded to it. It sounded like it wasn't serious by any means, and honestly, I've got him possibly winning by almost 100 kilos based on his current lift because his training's been going amazing. He squatted 474 at the Arnold. He just hit 462 for 4 and then squatted 501. He benched 287 at the Arnold, hit 308 in the gym. Hasn't posted deadlift much, but I just assume that's progressing well. Maybe that's the lift that's being bugged a bit by whatever this like small thing is. But even so, if he improves over what he did at the Arnold, it's going to be really, really, really hard for anyone to catch him. But I think Solana saw the same thing. As I'm going through this, I almost didn't research him, but fortunately I did. Michael McKinney. He's nominated at 1174 total, which is almost like 125 pounds off of Waskar's total. I went and saw his training. His best meet squat is 430. He had a 475 squat. His best deadlift is 490. He hit a 545 deadlift. If we're just taking those alone, it bumps his total up past anyone else's nominated total. He's made some serious progression. He's not in prime time. He could very well set the tone where everyone's chasing him. I don't know much about him outside of just looking at his Instagram, but that was one of the bigger surprises in all the research I did is someone that was seemingly really not in the picture, but he is very much looking like I've got him in second, just straight up. I've got him listed in second.
Yeah, that was interesting to see. I have him listed as my third, but that was with me even saying, okay, what if he doesn't hit what he did in training on the platform and he goes down by like 2.5 kilos from his best in training? So that's still a really good spot to be in. The main reason I put him in third is because I talked to Kurt Navarro, and even though he will not post his lifts, he was just telling me that like Arnold's was like a warm up for him. Everything moved well. He said things are moving very, very well into this meet, and he's expecting some decent, good PRs. That's pretty much what he told me. So I'm like, okay.
He's going to have the deadlift. That's where Kurt has the benefit. We talked about that last year too. He has the benefit of deadlift that he's going to get to pull last. And that's if you're looking at kind of him. I got him and Kenneth Imperial pretty much neck and neck. I got them both at a 1250 total. That's where Kurt, we even talked about this last year, where Kurt has the advantage because he has the biggest pull in this weight class.
Yeah, and I think this would help. My predictions out last year was Kurt, big pull, and then when I think I found his page last year was doing research for nationals, and like that is a legit pull. There's no question about it, and I think I remember at the Arnold or after the Arnold, I think he flat out made a post like it was just a tune-up meet, getting myself ready for nationals. So that's good to see. I expect a bigger performance out of him. I actually have him my second as well. But I mean, and we're talking about Michael, not very familiar with the lifter, but this can be very similar to Waskar's case. Waskar was not really, I think it was his second meet, the Arnold or something. It was a very early meet for him. I think I talked to him prior at the Arnold, and the dude can lift. You kind of just find your footing in these lower weight classes. You find out, you find a sweet spot, you find the groove, you find some momentum, and you build off that. Maybe Michael is going to have a very similar experience like Waskar, where he just finds a groove, finds himself into the top three. He's really filling his way out into powerlifting or finding his way into powerlifting, and you get that, or possibly even second. Waskar, though, I think is legitimate. I think as far as 60 kilo goes, he's going to be there for a little bit. I think he'll eventually, as he gets a little more seasoned, is going to be up in a weight class. But what I saw at the Arnold, really impressed with him, and he put himself out to be a really early favorite. And I don't know if Kurt can. I think it's actually going to be close between Waskar and Kurt, but I don't know if Kurt has the squat or the squats really stick with him. I bench too, but I think squat really is.
I'll just be honest. Kurt would have to really pull something out on squat because if Waskar pretty much does what he's doing in the gym on squat and bench and then matches his Arnold deadlift, Kurt's going to have to make up over 100 pounds over his Arnold total, which is a lot for a 60 kilo lifter.
Yeah. And I think last year with Shahid, because he was the winner of what the weight class would be. Shahid had the big bench too, so that kind of the subtotal still separated Shahid from Kurt. And I mean those But 60 kilos, you're getting into that 600, or you're getting into that mid 500 and upper 500 range with both Waskar and Kurt. Like, Kurt's a damn good deadlifter. He's the best deadlifter in his class, but Waskar doesn't have a baby pull on him. He's got a solid pull too. So I think a pretty well-rounded lifter in the 60 kilo weight class is Waskar, and I'll put him number one. I think we actually just gave our predictions this sporadically there. We were just kind of throwing in placings.
Well, you go first then, Angelo.
I got Waskar, Kurt, and Michael to round it out.
All right. I think we're all going to have Waskar first. I'm just going to flip it. I've got Michael McKinney second, Kurt Navarro in third.
I've got Waskar in first, Kurt in second, and Michael McKinney in third. Let's just see how he does. I know he's more of a wild card. And Waskar is cool to see because it's actually his third meet that he did, Bishops to Arnold, but he only started powerlifting in May of last year. So I feel like even though it's a short turnaround, like when you're that new, like you can still see like just more progress in a short amount of time because the newbie gains is still coming in.
Yeah, and he's getting those because, I mean, like I said, he's basically hitting what he hit at the Arnold on squat for sets of 4 now. He's rapidly progressing. So, and I'm just going to notate that the fact that I figured out Michael was in the running and I put him second. If he does get second, Michael, I better be your favorite co-host.
Yeah, that would be a pretty good feather in your cap there. But yeah, and what you said, Solana, about Waskar. That's why I think he's got it's newbie gains, but it's really, really, really good newbie gains. You know, like people get to newbie games, they put someone on our total, but his newbie gains are possibly a national championship. That's pretty damn good. And that's why I think you're going to grow. That's the reason why the populated weight classes are not 60 kilos and the weight classes below it. If you're lifting weights, eating, you're going to gain. And then, maybe 67.5 kilos is going to be his weight class in the future, which he's young. He's talented. I think we can see that. And speaking of 67.5,
I was going to quickly shout out the other 60s only because Christopher Castaneda, and Newton Chang, like we had no info on them. Like they don't post anything wrong at all. But they both came in with totals that are basically the same, 1218. And Kenna came in with a 1229 total. So like those are also people who could just come out and possibly battling for like fourth, third.
Yeah. Yeah.
So very true. Yeah. We have Bruce Yang, Christopher, Newton, Christopher Padilla. Some of them I couldn't find any IG accounts or their private accounts. Bruce sounds like he had a little bit of a hamstring injury and really hasn't posted this, so they're most really need to go off. But yeah, I mean, if they come and get top 3, it wouldn't be shocking because this is usually a young person's class for the most part, which means we tend to see a bit more rapid progression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, are we good to move on to the 67.5 kilos?
I'm ready.
All right, you guys are ready, but first I got to talk about Left Floor Bros. Ladies and gentlemen, go to leftfloorbros.com and get yourself the best powerlifting merchandise in the sport. I am currently wearing the Left Floor Bros 110% collab tee. Solana, you get both of this too, right? Just like me.
Yes,
you get
sir.
to use your code on both. Yeah. So this is one of the many shirts that they have that look fantastic. They have designs, collections for days. They make you look good from head to toe. I'm actually wearing it's a backwards cap. I'm sorry. That's bad on the sponsorship part. I should actually be wearing it frontwards. But dad caps, they got tank tops, they got great tees, they got joggers, they got socks. They make you look pretty from head to toe, look good in the gym, outside of the gym, on the platform with their comp tees. They are well-rounded. They are a fantastic company, and they sponsor. They help the sport. They just dropped a YouTube channel. They cover the sport as well. Their content from the Arnold was fantastic. Use promo code 2WL15 on any Left Floor Bros merchandise. Also, they have 2 White Lights merchandise still on leftfloorbros.com, so you can go and check out some 2 White Lights merchandise there as well. They have a lot of athletes competing at the Arnold. One being in this room, an affiliate with Solana Lewis. You can use promo code. Is that Solana? Or is that Solana 15?
Left Floor Bros 115. 110 is Solana.
Okay, there we go. All right, so that was a collab code and with the collab shirt that I'm wearing. And do we have confirmation on Oric 15?
I don't know. CB said that can happen, but I don't know if he made it. Someone just needs to put it in and see if it happens.
Yeah, see what happens. It might as well. Might as well
I say the first person that puts in Orc 15 should get a free shirt.
All right.
How about they say 15%?
The first.
I'll pay for it. CB, I'll pay for it if you make Orc 15 the first person get a free shirt.
That's actually a fantastic. That's actually one of the best ad reads we've had. That's like the only time we've had a guarantee free purchase if you use that promo code. So go to leftlowerbros.com, follow them on Instagram for sure, support the Left Lower Bros family. And now on to a very, very interesting weight class, 67.5. So we got Daniel Clemens, who's one of the best lifters in the world, regardless of weight class, one of the best lifters in the world, but a lot of contenders in there as well. Morgan Garcia, Brian Lee, Charlie Yang. This is something to watch the entire time. No matter what lifter you're watching from the ones we mentioned today, you're going to be entertained.
I agree.
Go ahead.
Okay, so like I said, I agree. Daniel Clements, I got to watch him at the Virginia Pro, and it was an amazing performance, and he got that last 705 deadlift, which would have been incredible, but he had some up and down. So the strength is 100% there, and I'm wondering, will he surpass that number if we can just get it clean? It'd be insane.
I think he'll probably easily surpass that, because that 70. I put down 705 because I honestly don't think he needs to reach past that. The fact is, he's going to be the heavy favorite. I don't want to count out Morgan Aquino Garcia, though, because we did last year, and then he showed up and arguably had the best meet of any 66 kilo lifter at the time. He really proved us wrong, did fantastic. His training looks like it's going amazing. With that said, the fact Dan's training is just going as amazing. He already had a decent little advantage on him. The only thing is Dan just hasn't put together a full meet yet. Nationals last year wasn't the full meet he was looking for. If the bobble on the third deadlift wasn't really, that kind of the VA Pro wasn't quite what he was looking for. I know it was a little bit of a weird thing because he was in the first flight trying to battle against the guys in the second flight. That was kind of a weird little thing that was happening there. Dan, I honestly think, which would be insane, I think he can go a 740 kilo total at 67.5, which if he does that, he's the best 67.5, 66 kilo lift in the world. Probably bar none. We'll have to see. Joe Jordan's looking really good, but I don't think anyone else has 740. And I honestly think Dan, if he has a perfect day, and I think it's finally going to happen for him, probably can go 740. And if he does, it's going to be hard to beat him. He probably can even afford to miss a lift or two and still win. I've got Morgan at 1576. I wouldn't be surprised if he just blows it out of the water and pushes close to 1600. But even with that, giving Dan conservative bumps from what he did at the VA Pro, he probably would still be 30 or 40 pounds behind based off of what I think they'll be at.
Yeah, I actually think Morgan, this might be my hot take. I think Morgan, if he was still in 66 kilos, could podium at IPF Worlds.
100%. I don't think that's a hot take.
Yeah, because we're focusing on the 66 kilo lifters right now on the IPF side with good reason, because you have Joe Jordan, who's killing it. He looks fantastic. I think Daniel and Bana are the big things, even though it's weird because, he's 1.5 kilos up. That does actually make a difference. That's where I don't know if Dan's going to plan on doing. I don't know if he's going to come in at 67.5 kilos. He'll get a big advantage there because anytime you get spotted a 1.5 kilos, you're going to do better. And I'll be more confident with his lift going forward, but I don't know if he wants to establish a precedent of, staying on par with Pana and Joe because they're competing within the same week. I might even be the same day, but Morgan can get overlooked at times because he's probably the second best lifter in America in this weight class, representing America, because Joe's representing the Virgin Islands. So I want to, establish that. But Morgan's fantastic. He's a incredibly strong lifter. He really put on a show last year at Nationals. I don't think including us, we did not expect him to get second. He got second. We were really high on Jonathan Garcia. He was able to beat Jonathan Garcia relatively handily as well. And then on top of that, number 3, though, Brian Lee. Brian Lee, me and Solana had the pleasure of watching his lifts. He was close to putting on a really, really impressive performance. One, to get his pro card, because he was right there neck and neck with Jimmy Villanueva within the entire pro series or the entire amateur day. He had to compete prior to Jimmy Villanueva. But he needed that last deadlift, or he needed his second and third deadlift. He missed both of them with the same weight. And if he would have hit that, I don't think Jimmy Villanueva would have won. It was really the Brian Lee, Jimmy Villanueva show at the Arnold amateur day. And if he could figure out that deadlift, it's balance. He loses balance. He loses that lockout. Don't know if he needs a backpack in order to continue to hit deadlifts. I think he needs a backpack on the platform in order to keep that balance. But if he figures that out, I think he's working with Joe Stanek now.
Yes.
He can find himself into a position there where he gets second. He is not a person to sleep on. He is a strong lifter. And really, I was very iffy on him going into the Arnold. I thought some of his lifts in the gym were inconsistent, particularly deadlift, but his other, he just seemed to be an erratic lifter to me. Looked like Arnold was a really good performance from him, where he kind of disproved a little bit of that. Maybe with Joe polishing off some things, fine tuning some things, you can get a position here where he, gives Morgan a run. I think Dan is kind of pulled himself away from the pack just a bit there, but Brian and Morgan are, I think, really close on total.
I agree. If Brian can get the deadlift down, he will be fighting for second place. However, I do know Steve saw this too. He mentioned a hip tweak, and I don't know how that's going. And then I saw him pull a 673 deadlift after he mentioned the hip tweak, and it was a grinder, but he got it. But I'm just wondering. I feel like he still hasn't figured out his deadlift. I feel like he still will be wobbling potentially. Doesn't look stable.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing there, where I didn't project him higher, because one, maybe he just posted that one. I did this prediction a while ago, so I haven't looked at his lifts in the last week. So if he just hit a 673, I did not see that. But yes, he posted that he had a little bit of a hip tweak, and nothing at that time he had posted was near maximal. And so I basically looked at it. I was like, if he could match for the most part his Arnold numbers, but get closer to hitting that deadlift around 660 or whatnot, that would be pretty good. But knowing Morgan, who's very consistent, good meet day executioner, I just don't know if Brian could quite push Morgan right now, especially if the fact he's getting coached by Joe, if he can be more consistent with technique and meet day execution, especially on those deadlifts. He's going to be pushing for those spots in the coming years. I just think right now, I really do trust Morgan's meet day execution. I was wrong last year, and I'm not going to allow myself to be wrong again there. And then Charlie Yang, we got the chance to commentate his meet at game day. It was very much a sandbag meet. He was just trying to get a QT total to get into primetime, which he did. So he really didn't show his cards. I also know that he had a little bit of a back tweak, I think 2 weeks out. So that's why they went extra conservative. But things are starting to ramp up now. He just hit a pretty easy 485 squat, bench 308 at 8 RPE. And then he just posted, I think it was a 320, 623 or 628 deadlift he just hit with more in the tank. So I definitely think he can make probably almost over 100-pound jump of what he did at game day. But even if he does 100 pounds, I still got him 50 to 60 pounds behind Brian. I've got Brian 50 pounds behind Morgan, and I've got Morgan about 50 pounds behind Dan. So I hope I am wrong in the sense that there's going to be a bit more direct competition here. But if I am right, it solidifies these people pretty well in where they're at.
Yeah, I think with Charlie Yang, I mean, that meet, you can't get anything off of it. You can't. It was such a sandbag meet. Charlie Yang's really hard to predict. Only thing I could predict with Charlie was 67.5 kilos. He's finding his way into it. He's finding his footing. He is a legend in the 59 kilo weight class. He was, I think 2019 was kind of running the show in 59s. 67.5 kilos, new weight class for him. He's finding it. I think it's going to be a little bit of time before he's, I think, getting into a position where he's really challenging Morgan and Brian's totals. But at the same time, if he comes in healthy, and he had the injury bug for a while, and it didn't help that the injury bug kind of found its way back into the game day meet that we commentated. But hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully he's able to, climb within those rankings. And this is a really fun weight class, but it might be It might be boring with our predictions. I don't know. I am really flip-flopping, though, between Brian and Morgan. But Morgan, like you said, Steve, he's so complete. Also, I mean, if you just look at the guy, he's jacked as shit. That means something.
He doesn't have a weakness. He's got a good squat. He's got the best bench in the weight class. And
I want his bench. That is a nice, nice bench.
Yeah.
He's his bench is. I mean, if you look at him, you could just say like, oh, big bencher, of course. Like he just has a ton of muscle on him. Man, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to find something to add with this weight class. Daniel Clemens, though, just to put the conversation back on him, he also has the overall standings to look at. This is important.
Yes.
Virginia Pro didn't give Daniel Clemens and Austin Perkins the credit that they deserve because the Pro Series is on dots now. Daniel Clemens would have got third on dots at the Virginia Pro, and Perk would have got second. This is important because things are on dots. That actually sways things for Daniel Clemens' favor. And if this guy continues to progress the way he's progressing, because he just looks so dialed in and locked in, and I think he should really take this. I know there's a precedent to establish with 66 kilos, but maybe you should just take a look at what's going to give you the best total, the best dot score, and let's give the big guys run for the money because he already got dots. Bob, I know Bob is on another level as his training right now, but it happened. If you're out dotsing Bob, you're within that competition. You're looking at a lot of money here.
If I take, because Bob posted his dots from the little SBD day he had or the week he had, I think it was like 570 something. If Dan was to hit the total I've got projected here, it would beat Bob by 3 dots points. So yes, I think we're looking at the big three as Ashton, Bob, and Brandon Petrie. But Dan is very much in that. He very well could be the spoiler of the craftsmanship top 3 in regards to the men of the top 3 dots scores. And he's probably the most likely to do that.
Yeah, if I get a lifter like him, I trust lifters like him. He's consistent. He has a monster total. I think the best 66 kilo lifter in the world. I know he's competing at 67.5. I think he's the best 66 kilo lifter in the world. Even if you take into account Pana and Joe. He is someone who occasionally does get overlooked because I think the Virginia Pro really put a deserved spotlight on Bob and Petrie. But if it were playing by the rules that we have now, the spotlight would have been on Daniel Clemens as opposed to Bob and Petrie.
Yes, very much. All right, Salada, you want to kick it off? I think we're going to have a lot of shots here.
Yeah. So I'm going Dan Clemens for first place. And then second, I got Morgan, and then Brian Lee. I want Brian to have his day so bad. But I don't know if in this time, Steve, you looked at that deadlift, like, it was just 63 was such a grinder, and, like, he couldn't even, like, hold on to the top. Like, it was really fast lockout. And I'm just like,
even if he has that deadlift, I don't know if it beats Morgan, so it probably wouldn't change my mind even if it was clean. Because it's less about thinking that Brian doesn't have the capabilities. I think Brian is incredible. I just think Morgan's at a different level right now. So yeah, hear it. Dan, Morgan, Brian, 1, 2, 3.
And before I get my predictions out, if you're looking at that, Brian Lee, if he would have hit that deadlift, I think he would have been third overall the entire weekend at the Arnold. I think you would have put him at a 549 dots. So that would, that's including the Grand Prix. That's including the pro lifters, and he's not yet got that pro card yet. I don't want to be a dick and underestimate Morgan again. I don't
do it. I want him to like me more than you.
That's not hard. I'm so iffy on Brian's deadlift. It happens too often. He's got to do it in competition once where he hits that deadlift and doesn't miss his balance or grip. He just has to do it because Morgan, we've seen what he can do. It's fantastic. He's actually got a long break too. Last competition was 2021. So I think that's actually going to give him an advantage over Brian. I'm going to go Morgan second. I'm sorry if I'm boring. It's going to happen occasionally. And Brian Lee third. But this weight class is going to, I think, is going to open a lot of people's eyes as far as like some of the best overall lifters go, because the best overall lifter in the Pro Series could potentially be in a 67.5 kilo weight class.
Yeah. And the thing I'll say to Ryan is he is one thing away from probably hitting that 673 deadlift really clean. And that's some ammonia.
I don't know if he takes any.
I don't know.
There's no guarantee. I got to ask maybe Joe, but I know a great brand where he can get some ammonia smelling salts, and that is Obsidian. Boys and girls, go to hypedust.com and get yourself some Obsidian smelling salts. Have it before your squat, maybe your second attempt. Have it for your bench, maybe your second attempt, and deadlift for your second attempt. Wake you up. It'll legit wake your. It's like a shotgun to the face sometimes. I think they have one titled that. It could be something along that line because they have a lot of different smelling salts that ranges from strength. I tried them all at the Arnold. They hit you hard. They give back to the sport. They sponsor the sport as well. Use promo code 2WL15 to get yourself the best smelling salts in powerlifting. If you are competing at Mega Nationals, have this with you. Make sure it's in your coach's fanny pack. Make sure your coach has it with you. Don't lose it in the warm-up room. Don't have someone take it from you. I think Tim Thibodeau took my Obsidian ammonia smelling salts in 2019 Nationals. I have not got confirmation on that, but I think it happened, and that's why I missed my last deadlift. I am completely blaming it on Tim. That was the last person I gave it to, and I had to buy a new one. And the great thing is we have a great promo code for it now. 2WL15 for Obsidian smelling salts. And now let's get on to the ultra competitive 75 kilo weight class. This is going to be possibly the most erratic of the weight classes. I think 75 and 90s, where I don't know who's going to win. There's so many lifters, so many totals.
This is going to be the craziest weight class in USAPL history. I'm just going to say it.
Ooh, that is a hot take. And I agree with you.
Straight up, we don't have that one anymore. We don't have perk. That opened things up. I mean, frankly, we saw some people come back because it got opened up that seemingly weren't powerlifting anymore. There legitimately is 8 to 9 people that could win this, and I wouldn't be surprised. I will guarantee 100% whatever our predictions are probably won't be perfectly correct, and we're going to be wrong about something because there is so many people, one possible to win, and so many wild cards. That's the bigger thing. So many wild cards in this weight class. I honestly, there's only one lifter in this weight class I trust to hit lifts. Like fully 100%, always executes. And then even like I coach Anas. He's had a little bit of an issue on third attempt deadlifts. He's pretty well executed. He's great at going 8 for 9. Eric Lapointe is the only one that consistently goes 9 for 9 and hits his lifts. Anas is pretty close. Outside of that, we really, really are getting into a lot of people who are inconsistent. I was going to be thinking Neil Asano was going to be high up here, but I guess he dropped out. I thought he was signed up and he's not in anymore. But outside of that, I mean, we got Pug. We know there's always question marks there. We got Charles Okpoko, bombed out of the VA Pro on depth. We got Joe Borenstein, went 5 for 9 after seemingly what I assume was a difficult weight cut and just had COVID a week ago. We have Jacob Ramos. If you look at his gym list, some aren't convincingly to powerlifting standards, and I think he struggled with that a bit in regards to his last meet, where he didn't quite live up to what he was doing in the gym. We've got Kevin Tran. I'm not sure. I love Kevin, but I'm not sure he's ever hit a third attempt deadlift. It's seemingly, no matter what, he misses a third attempt deadlift. He seemingly has infinite deadlift strength. It's just he never hits that third attempt. So again, I'm going, and then outside of that, we've got Dion Johnson, we got Mark Frizzell, we got Nico Flores, we got Michael Cole DiPietro, we got Juan Rios. All of those people could possibly put up a total that breaks in the top 3 depending on the wild cardness of the rest of this weight class. It's insane.
I fully agree with you. It's definitely absolutely insane. Going through everyone, like, and I was even DMing you today, Steve. I was like, why is this person not your top? And I'm looking at everyone else like, oh my God, because this person's like, his total's actually really, really close to it. So this is definitely my biggest wild card for sure. Like, I think we're all going to have very different predictions. I'm definitely excited to see Charles Okpoko just because I was there to commentate while he bombed out of the Virginia Pro. But then as last meet, it seemed like things got cleaned up in terms of depth for sure. And I looked at his squats like yesterday, and to me, I mean, they're front angles, but to me, depth looks like it's finally back to being there. And it looks like, I don't think he's being pushed from Marcellus, but like Marcellus is pushing him in the gym, and like they train together like once a week, and he's not gonna let him like BS in training. So I think that's very helpful.
Well, I'm actually very curious. Who's my point really quick? I'm very curious who's handling Charles, because sometimes his decision making, Marcellus's. Now that actually does have a little bit of a factor in, you know, my prediction here, because I do trust Marcellus with, he's handled people who I'm like, that person's erratic with the temp selections at times, and Marcellus has experience with the temp selections and making smart ones. So Charles, I think Charles' kryptonite is sometimes decision making in comp and in the gym. He is arguably the most gifted lifter I've ever seen. Legend in the 66 kilo weight class. They're still chasing his numbers in the 66 kilo weight class, right? Is his record ever been broken, Steve? I
don't think it has. I believe that third deadlift from Dan would have broken it.
Yeah. So I mean, he was in Sheffield when it was first announced. Charles is just a brilliant, highly acclaimed lifter, a massive amount of accolades. I like him in the 75 kilo weight class as well. I talked to him at the meet he did in Austin. Didn't know he was doing it. Went there on a whim, and there it is. One of the best lifters in the world, one of the best 66 kilo lifters of all time, if not the best 66 kilo lifter of all time, is competing. And it just seems like 75 kilo weight class, don't need to take a big cut, don't need to worry about certain things, could train a little bit heavier. The meet looked really good for him. There's a few grinders on his list, but it happened long enough where I think you can recover from it and put together a total where he's going to be a top contender. So, yeah, that's at least my take on Charles. Steve?
All right. Well, I figure I'm just going to go based off a nominated total. Charles is first. I'll say that if Charles, in my opinion, was to hire a good coach, because I think his issue has been some decision-making in the past, I think he could compete with Perk next year. He has the highest ceiling in this weight class, no doubt. Now, with his meet he just did, it was obviously very recent, squat was an all-out grinder. I don't think he had another kilo in the tank. He did have a little bit more on bench and deadlift. And looking at his training right now, he just squatted 606. It was a little bit hard. He hit 375 in the gym with a little bit more in the tank. I don't see anything necessarily that says he's going to blow that out of the water. Not that he won't improve on it, but I'm saying like blow it out of the water, like all of a sudden he's adding 30 or 40 kilos and he's just going to make it unreachable for everyone else. I really think, obviously I've done a lot of research in this class because I've got a NOS, and a NOS I believe is very much in the running to win this. I think 750 is the magic number here. Someone could go higher than that. I think some people could feasibly go 760, but considering it's nationals, it's national judges, there's travel involved. You're going head to head, and sometimes you got to be a little bit more conservative on some tip selection so you don't miss a lift. I think around 750 is the magic number. You're going to probably have to hit at least 750 to win it. Charles is definitely one of those. I would say Charles has the highest ceiling of any lifter. It's just the fact that he does have a little bit of a wild card aspect to him in the sense of squat depth and some other factors as well. So I've got him at 1661. Next up would be Eric Lapointe. And as I already mentioned, I think he is the least of the wild card. He's really consistent. There's not really too.
Interrupt you for a second, Steve. So we have Eric Lapointe, big deadlift. He has had issues executing deadlifts. Last Nationals is a point, and then also I believe at the Arnold, the previous year, he had some issues hitting that deadlift. I think it is occasionally that hook grip he pulls with. I could be wrong though.
He has to an extent. He usually ends up hitting his top end. That's the only difference. He kind of has hit his top end because like Nationals he missed, or no, the Arnold he missed 666. He took it again and took a big jump. Nationals last year he still jumped over his opener. So yes, there's some factors there too. So I don't even want to say he's not a wild card as well. There's no one that's like a for sure thing that like is like a Taylor Atwood who goes 9 for 9 every meet and like you don't expect to miss. Eric though, I think Charles is in there too, is likely the most experienced in this situation. He's been in high level competition for a while. He doesn't post a ton. He has noted that his squat training, he's doing things he never thought he'd do. I don't know what that means, but squat is arguably his weakest lift in comparison in regards to this weight class. And he's saying he's doing things that he didn't think he could do. So I have to think he's making decent progress there. And if I'm taking the numbers, I have him about right on par with Charles. I have Charles at 1661, and I have Eric at 1659, which I think is just over. I think that's like 755 or somewhere around there. Yeah, 755. I bet both of them at 755. Again, I think about 750 is the magic number. Do I expect both of them to do that? No. I'm at the end. I'm actually going to explain the scenario I have in my head, because I think the only way we can actually make predictions in this weight class is actually like thinking out scenarios for the fact that like we're going to have to assume someone misses, because if we don't, I have like 4 people tying almost. So, yeah, I think Eric and Charles, I have them pretty much at the same spot. It's just who hit less.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it can go so many different ways. It's going to come down to hit lifts, miss lifts. I really hope we see a lot of this is I hope we see a lot of 9, like a potential, like everyone's 7 for 7, 8 for 8 going into it. I just don't see it happening with the lifters that we have here. I think someone can. I think someone can pull ahead here and go 9 for 9. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't think we're going to get this situation like the 83s last year, where the top 3 people were 8 for 9, 9 for 9 lifts. I could see somebody potentially winning on going 7 for 9. It could be one of those things where just miss lifts all over the place, and someone just jumps in right at the end. If that's the case, if people are missing lifts, Eric Lapointe is the guy to really do that, because he's got that massive pull. This weight class, I really don't even know where to go. I don't know where to. Solana, can you help me out? I don't know where to like put my attention on, because I'm looking at all these names here, and it's cluttering all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. Well, realistically, I'm going to go more based off of like what I know about people. So like when I see Richard Cho, I'm like, everyone's been all over the place, but like he's a little too all over the place. So I'm not going to count on your performance being there. Hopefully it will be. When it comes to Charles, I feel really good just because he had the last meet, which was smoother, and he has someone that we know is a really good coach to be there with him on meet day. Like that's like a big thing for me to know that. So I just feel like he'll be more consistent because he won't be silly with his temp selection. Moving down, other people, Anas, who is Steve's client, who he will not put any information on. Which is annoying, but it's fine. What did I write about you? Okay, so he had a good last meet going 8 for 9. So like you said, he tends to miss the last deadlift. But I still have him going. I have him predicted at 1641, which is really close to like the 1650 mark that you said people need to be hitting. So my thing is, I know that Steve has him ranked higher, so I wonder if he's doing better than I see, because I saw they hit a smooth squat triple like 402. Oh no, yes. Hold on, wait. Re-looking at this. Yeah, 402 squat. And then I'll move on. I confused myself with my clutter that's in here. But moving down, okay. Jacob Ramos. I don't know what you guys know or think about Jacob Ramos, but he went 6 for 9 at the last meet, which is also very all over the place. And then I see him like deadlifting with straps, and I'm just like, I just don't know if he can execute technique on meet day. So
yeah, he did a gym day that was 606 squat, 419 bench, and 628 deadlift, and said it was all 7 RPE. I'm just going to be honest, Jacob. I'm not trying to hate on you. The squat was high. I believe the deadlift was in straps, and then the bench was a short pause. And I might be misquoting here, but I feel like when I saw it, I put it. Bench was a short pause, and butt came up. So it looks like a repeat of possibly some of the disappointment of last meet. Is I think he's not lifting to the standard, and especially if he's going to nationals, lifting the standard is going to be there. The strength he has, if I'm taking gym numbers, could possibly win this. And if he can put that together on the platform, he could win. He's one of the people I have as a win that could possibly take this home. But it's a wild card in the sense that I just don't see his gym list living up to it. Another person that honestly I think could win, and I'm going to take some credit here from Two White Lights. I think we may have helped convince Joe Bornstein to go to nationals because he wasn't going to do Raw nationals. I think we pressured him, and then he got a little semi GoFundMe together, and then he came. He went and competed at collegiate nationals. He won best overall lifter. I mean, in reality, had a great day. It was just below expectations, and I don't know if that was because it was his first nationals, if it was because of the cut, because I do believe he cuts a decent amount and is likely going to be going up a weight class, maybe even after this meet. That might be wrong there, but I thought I heard that somewhere. And maybe even the bigger issue, unfortunately, he just got COVID like a week ago. And so I think he had to take a week off of training, and he's getting back into it. So because of that, I don't know how much progress he's going to make. It's more about, can he execute better on game day? Because he definitely had more in the tank. He definitely had like 2.5 to 5 more kilos in the tank on all those lifts in comparison to what I think he likely did, based off if he peaked better and the weight cut didn't affect him as much. It's just, can he put that together on a big stage? As well as I wonder who's handling him, because this isn't just about who's going to be the strongest. It's going to be who about has the best attempt selection and game day handling, because there could feasibly be 5, 6, 7 people pulling for the win. There could be some people who aren't even in contention, possibly, that don't look like they're in contention, throwing on some random weight and trying to pull for the win, a la almost like Trey Ricard versus Seth Suzuki style, where like you think he's out of it and then throws on a weight, hits it, and all of a sudden pulls in the lead. So Joe is right in there. For Anas, all I'm going to say is his training is going very well.
Yeah. With your last point there, Anas, and to give you a little scouting report, I mean, Anas is just he's a professional type of lifter. He's smart. He executes. He does things well. Him on meet day, it's just, I know he has struggles with that last deadlift, but he's just a good, solid lifter you can rely on. All right, I guess I'm just going to give my scouting reports too, because what you guys said is fantastic, but still, it's just like all over the place. I mean, Steve and Solana, like your explanations here, they're all the same almost. They're all the same to me. They have there's not one person who's pulling ahead. There's always that one outlier. There's not one here. They're all like kind of the same lifter to me. I mean, they get to that total in a different way, but the total there is just, there's no disparity. It's not like if this person goes 9 for 9, that's it. It's over. That doesn't apply for this weight class. So I'll go from the top with the highest nominated total, Richard Cho. I'm going to say it. He should be an 82.5. How many times do we have to go through this? He misses weight at Virginia at the winter wrecker. He goes into last year at Nationals, and immediately upon walking in the door, I'm like, he's going to have a bad meet. He's cut way too much weight. Take the Michael C route. Go up to 82.5 kilos. That's where you're at. I don't like this idea of him going back down to 75. There was nothing wrong with his weight cut. He's just too damn big for the weight class. I could be eating a lot of words. This is possibly like the whole journalist thing, like Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, where they, you get on freezing code takes. But that's what I'm seeing right now. Like, the evidence is there, and I don't see anything in his training right now is going to tell me he's going to blow people out of the water with his performance. And I think that was a problem with that 1 year with Taylor Atwood, Michael C., Austin Perkins. It was during the aftermath of that, it was just clear Michael C. and Ricky were too big. They were just too big in that weight class. They have to go up. Michael C. did it. I think Pug could do the same thing. I think it's hurting some performance, possibly leading to some injuries too. I don't know. And also just all over the place with training. Like, Is he in it? Is he not in it? I don't see anything in his training right now that he's within this realm of, Charles Apoko, Eric Lapointe, and the other higher nominated totals. I just don't see it.
So to touch on Pug, I don't know what his current weight is. Obviously, if there is something, being 75 kilos.
When I met him, he was bigger than me. And I'm an 80. I was an 83 kilo at the time. He was bigger than me. He looks a little bit more the part this time.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and the fact that it's 75, and let's say he's later. Even so, he just started training seriously again. Now it's going well. I think he could viably repeat his best performance, which was, I believe, 2019 Raw Nationals, a 742.5 kilo total. But I don't think that's enough to win. Do I think Pug is someone that is in the running to win? Yes. But I think people need to miss, because, again, I just don't see him being at 750, including all the variables. I would love to say 740 to 745 is my high end for him. He could prove us wrong. Maybe his weight is down, but that's where I think he could very well end up. And if he does, I just don't see that being the top end. And honestly, that brings up the next person that is in the same situation as Pug, not the weight cut, but someone coming back from 2019 that seemingly came out of nowhere and is competing again is Kevin Tran. Kevin, on paper, should win this. He just squatted 595, decently easy. He just pulled 683, I think, today. On paper, he should possibly win this. The issue is we've seen this over and over where the gym lifts are crazy and it doesn't translate to meet day. I mean, he just did a meet just to qualify for this, and he still missed his third deadlift. I would love for him to see it finally hit that high 600 deadlift. It just never happens.
Yeah, and on top of that, like I know, I think they're trying to get the little, the fire back in 2019, where the 74 kilo lifters were the talk. It was on King of Lifts. They had their little thing that they do. I think they're trying to get that back with Richard and Kevin. I think Kevin is definitely my favorite within the two to actually like do something at this meet. If I'm putting stock into someone going podium, it's definitely Kevin. It was a sandbag meet, but he did miss his deadlift. You are right about that. But in the gym right now, everything's looking great. His squat and bench are looking very good, and it's going to come down to that deadlift. But I think even with a missed deadlift, he can find himself within a podium position. If there's a little rivalry between the two, maybe just trying to hype it up for social media and to get people more interested, I'm taking Kevin on this one. I just think he's the more complete lifter right now. That last meet was way more promising than what I've seen from Pug. I think it's good if he could repeat his performance from 2019. That is a huge win for Pug. I think that'll be massive for him because of how poorly last year went, and then and then the meet prior was a tune-up meet, but at Winter Record he missed weight. Like all these things are. I mean, if he can match that performance, that'll be fantastic. Talked a little bit about Charles Poco, Eric Lapointe, massive pull on him, consistent lifter. He's very similar to me. He's going to give up some ground on bench, but he's got a good enough squat and deadlift to really take that. If people start missing lifts, if you start seeing erratic meets, then that's big time advantage towards Eric Lapointe. He could put on something to win. Joseph Bornstein, I think right now is a victim of youth. I mean, just getting out to Vegas, I know is a difficult thing for him just with the funding. And also probably Illinois too. I mean, we don't know the variables that he has to play with, but I know, right? I got to talk to him for like 30 seconds, and I really want to talk to him because he's an incredibly impressive lifter. He had to leave. He had to go and catch a flight. He had like the flight the next morning. So he had like one night in Lombard, and then boom, he was gone. He was like a shadow. Just puts on this incredible performance in teen, and then has to leave. So that could also dictate someone's weight cut. That could dictate someone's performance, a quick travel, a hard travel, and especially someone who cuts weight like him. Already talked about Anas. He's just a good, solid, reliable lifter with a huge bench. What a bench on him. He's the definite bench king of this weight class. Him and Deion Johnson are fantastic benchers. It's going to come down to his subtotal.
Interesting note that I'll say, because I'm thinking of it now. Likely no one in this class is going to have a chip. The only one that I think maybe even close is Anas, but even him, I'm just going to say it. I don't think. I mean, Taylor Atwood's records still count.
Goddamn Taylor Atwood. No one's chipping that shit.
There's no chips on the table here, which makes it even more interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. Yeah, it's. Oh God, that's his no. Yeah, his numbers really. I don't see any lifters really hitting it. So he's going to get hurt when it comes down to the deadlift. Just in general, his leverages are definitely within the subtotal range, squat and bench. Jacob Ramos, actually, me and Michael Cole DiPietro, good friends. We've been talking about this for a while. If he could just replicate his shit in the gym, he's like very similar to Kevin Tran here. He's up there towards the best. He's up there 1 and 2. Don't know if he can do that, and I think the issue is just him doing it. I think it's one of those things where we say it enough times, like, okay, do it. and we haven't seen it yet. So it's hard to put that much stock, but we can all agree his gym lifts are so damn good. Deion Johnson, strong lifter, maybe should be in prime. Actually, there's a bit of a cutoff there for prime time. Fighting into podium position again. He's a big subtotal guy, big bench on him. I think the deadlift is where it's going to hurt. And then Mark Frizzell, again, solid lifter. I think possibly the goal, the end goal for him should be within the top 3, like the podium position. Don't know if that's there for him. But he's a lifter who's showing really good improvement. I think he could definitely be in there. I think he fits within a weight class. Nico Flores, sandbag meet in Hawaii. Aside from that deadlift, I think he gave everything he had on that last deadlift. I think his top end would be in the top 5 or 3. He should that should be this focus. I don't think he really thinks he's in a position to total something at 750. Michael Cole DiPietro, love the guy. We're big fans of Michael Cole DiPietro on the podcast. I don't know what's going on with his training. He usually does this. I don't know what's happening with him. A solid, reliable lifter. Got a pretty.
I think decent. It looks like it's going decent. He posted today probable openers, and I did some little calculations based off of openers and what he might jump. It led to like a 730 kilo total.
Yeah, which will be on par with PA lifts,
which would be good. It probably isn't going to win it, but it could be up there if people are missing lifts.
Possibly podium. That's what I think. Mark, Nico, and Mike are within a position, and Deion too, within a position to podium. That should be their goal. Is to get themselves in position to podium. I think there is a little bit of a cutoff there between those lifts. So, I mean, I just gave the scouting report, and I'm more lost than where I started exactly on like where to even predict these. I might just do the thing. I'm going to close my eyes, like I told you with last year with the 83s. Close my eyes, and who do I see winning? If I just close, who would fit to win?
Well, do you want me to go first? Because I'll explain my exact scenario of what I think is going to happen for the top 3.
I want to hear this scenario because I don't think I went first yet. But okay. I'll let you hear this one.
I got my top 3 as being Anas, Charles, and Eric. Charles is going to be the first third attempt pull. He's going to hit it. Anas will be the second of those 3. Will be the second to pull. He will hit his third deadlift and pull in the first. That will force Eric Lapointe to probably have to put on something big, and Eric will miss. So that means Anas first, Charles second, Eric third. That's my little simulation I put in my head to be able to decide this.
Okay. You can go.
All right. So I say Charles Poco takes first. I think he makes smart attempt selections. He gets flips. I say second place, Eric Lapointe. And then third, I have Joseph Bornstein.
Ooh. All right. I would love to see Joseph Bornstein in there for sure. All right. 1, 2, and 3. I close my eyes and see Eric Lapointe winning. I see it. I see Eric Lapointe winning. Second place, I'm gonna have Charles Okpoko. I think if he matches his stuff, I think 1 to 2 is really his range there. And third, I'm gonna have Anas Sanbar as my third place lifter, which will be very good for Anas to get himself in podium position. And then with that, when you see our predictions here, we all have different first place winners. We have people kind of like Steve doesn't put any point third. I have him first.
Yeah, I have put anyone anywhere, and I'd be fine with it, and I couldn't argue it. Like I can't argue any makeup of like 8 people in the top 3.
Yeah, I just got to give credit to the deadlift specialist on that. Like in a weight class where there's a lot of potential of missed lifts right now, Eric Lapointe it benefits the most off of missed lifts. You know, and also he doesn't have the issue with just having a mammoth like Taylor Atwood pulling. He is the big puller, and for a while he was the big puller in 74 kilos, and I think that'll benefit him. And again, we're talking about this weight class, and the 2 biggest hitters aren't there. So Taylor Atwood and Austin Perkins. like this weight class is wide open. And occasionally you get this like conversation of it's not that compelling of a matchup. It's not that compelling. These are still like, this is the deep. I think this is deeper than IPF Worlds as far as lifters go.
100. I think so too. And this, like, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, take out Taylor Atwood, it's deeper than IPF Worlds.
So Taylor, I don't know if I mean, I probably brought this point up on the show. Taylor Atwood and Austin Perkins have put a shadow on this division, such a large shadow over this division that we're not appreciating what we're seeing right now. These are the world's best 74, 75 kilo lifters if Taylor Atwood and Austin Perkins don't exist. Like, and that's how big of outliers and anomalies they are. They are just so ahead of the pack that it's like everyone gets overlooked. Now you get a little bit of that shine, and people are like, "Oh, a 750 kilo, 750 kilo at 74 kilos is still amazing." I mean, what did Erickson get last year at IPF Worlds? Was it 740?
Let's see if I can find it.
It was something in that range, right? Obviously, it wasn't
720. No, 727.5.
Wow.
Oh, so boom. All right. So right there. So we're talking about guys who, if you put this in IPF Worlds, this is better than the defending IPF World Champion, right? So
I will say I pulled up the nominations. It's probably about, if you take out Taylor, it's about dead even. The top nominated person in IPF Worlds is 750, albeit that's a Cameroon lifter. A lot of times those are not true. It's about dead even. Like this would be just as competitive, if not more competitive, than IPF Worlds if you remove Taylor Atwood.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's always something. I mean, right now, like I have debates about this. I think weekly about the 74 kilos, and someone taking like, oh, did you see what the nominated totals are right now? I'm like, they're really good still. That's how good Austin. We're talking about potentially some of the two best lifters in like powerlifting history. They're doing things that are not. They're people thought it was impossible for 74 to total 800, and that's what Perk and Atwood did. And Atwood, I don't think anyone expected what he did at Worlds at Nationals last year. It made absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
I tell you what does make sense though. Wait, hold on. You just fucked up my segue, but continue.
I said I was going to give one more take that this class is the most likely for someone to get pissy and call us out on the story.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? I think me not putting Kevin Tran for third, I think he might do it. I hope he does. I hope he doesn't do it ironically now, but we just.
I wanted to ask: is Kevin doing a big cut?
I don't know.
No,
I'm not sure. On that.
So I talked to Sam. All right. So my memory is 2019. Really hard to remember that. I thought someone told me that he does take a big cut, and he's a bigger dude. But Joe told me his cut was good. It's like we didn't have to do much for the meet he did in Houston. So that's good. I mean, I think everything you saw in Houston was an incredible sandbag, and it was still a 710 total. I think he can put 30 kilos on that total. It was between Anas and Kevin for that last part there. I mean, really, I could change it and put Kevin. I probably wouldn't be wrong, but Anas, it's hard. This is the weight class because I think Kevin can definitely get third here. I don't think he was a snub like he was saying. I don't know where the fuck that came from. I don't know where he got on his thing and started. You guys watch the primetime selections, dude. You had a 710 total. How the hell do you think you're going to be in primetime based on nominations?
Yeah,
like what? Yeah. Your last deadlift and you would have been in primetime. You would have been good then, but you didn't. So I don't know what the snub is. The only person saying he was a snub was him.
Yeah.
And like maybe his friends. It was like, what?
I saw one friend comment too.
And it was potentially his girlfriend. I think his girlfriend said which is a great girlfriend move, saying is a snub. But yeah, this is the weight class that will probably, a pug will probably not appreciate what I said, or at least say something back at what I said, that he's an 82.5 kilo lifter. And he is. He's too damn tall and too damn big. Just be 82.5. Be with the big ones.
I was gonna say Kevin Tran and Deion Johnson, they're both not in prime time. I'm curious if like they'll have better attempt selection and somehow end up with like a really good day because like there's no pressure of everyone else's number.
Potentially, like we don't. Primetime, like I said last episodes or the previous 2 episodes, it could be a crapshoot. We don't know. It could hurt people's performances. I think Kevin Tran would actually benefit being on Primetime. Dion Johnson, I don't know, will, because he doesn't have the big pull. Like Kevin has a pull on him. Dion's a big subtotal guy, so it can benefit him. Just like, I'm going to go out there, put my best foot forward, compete with the guys within a session, and even the guys who's competing in a session. Mark, Michael, Nico, Juan, good lifters compete in the early session that could possibly, if you do well enough, can get you into a top 5 position. So, there's something there. I think Kevin, though, would benefit of being on Primetime, but he didn't.
What I'll say is you could probably get top 3 outside of Primetime, but I think it's about darn near impossible to get first because everyone knows what they have to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Do you guys remember watching Mark Jr Pro?
Yeah.
One of my favorites to watch. Like, he grinds everything. It's just
I saw his 661 pull today.
And that's like normal for him.
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of experience watching him. I was competing at Virginia Pro, and then Arnold, I think I was competing the same day he was competing. So
he became one of my favorites every single attempt.
All right, so is he our version of Pana, or is he a little more polished than Pana?
He's not quite. That's just fun to watch. I mean, that's just like, we're still here. Oh my god.
You and I have different definitions of fun. I think your fun is my. Okay, he's got it. Good. I thought he was gonna die there for a second. Good thing he had a spotter. Yeah. All right. Well, I can tell you what is fun. Stoic. Go to lift.net. I had a pretty good segue earlier, but Steve kind of interrupted me, but he had himself a good take. But Stoic, go to lift.net and get yourself the best powerlifting gear in the sport right now. So the singlets, the wrist wraps, the knee sleeves, they're all quality and they're also affordable as well. Best bang for your buck is Stoic. Use promo code Angelo10 and it becomes more affordable. I work Stoic in the gym and on the platform because it is quality. I have not worn anything else since I got my first Stoic care package. I have not gone to anything else, and there's a reason for it. It's quality. It's fantastic. Also, I look good in black and white. Use promo code Angelo10. Go to lift.net and save yourself some money. Get yourself some Stoic gear. And now on to the 82.5 kilo weight class.
Yeah,
lots to talk about here. Steve, are you sitting out this one? Are you allowed?
No, I've got a strong prediction for Sean. Do you want me to go right into my strong prediction for Sean?
That was a tongue twister, but yes.
My strong prediction for Sean Noriega is he's going to, at minimum, set a 5 kilo deadlift PR over last nationals. He will at least hit 80 kilos or more.
I was about to say, he will do better than his last national meet. Guaranteed, hands down. That's what I thought you were going to say, and you pretty much did that. I like that, bold prediction.
If he doesn't, you're fired.
I would, maybe. I mean, hopefully that doesn't come back and you have to eat crow, right? That'll be super unfortunate. That something bad happen if that's the case. But, all right. All right. The weight class that people are always excited about. You have the face of powerlifting, in my opinion. The face of powerlifting, Russ Orhii at the top, highest nominated total. Was he? He's 4-time national champion, correct? Did I get that wrong? 4?
Yeah, I think
4. Okay, so a lot. He is the GOAT in this weight class. He's dominated his weight class. He's dominated the world's weight class. 2-time world champion as well. He's Russ Orhii. You can't say much more about Russ Orhii. We're going to get a little bit deeper into what's going on with Russ Orhii later, but just based on, early scouting, that's what Russ Orhii does. The perennial number 2 is Sean Noriega. So he has finished second. He's been behind Russ, but he's still, even with 82 and 83s, he's the second best in the world, in my opinion, regardless of what, Delaney or Tim does at Worlds. You got John Gruden in there as well. the international man of mystery. We never know what the hell he's doing. He has an incredibly demanding job being the strength and conditioning coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. Doesn't post anything on social media. His total can be anywhere from 900 to 800 based on what people tell us. We have a little bit better of an idea now what John Gruden does based on Nationals and Arnold. Like, we know his range. I don't think, because last Nationals we were like, he might total 850. We don't know. People are telling us that he's deadlifting like 720 and squatting 720 as well. That's not the case. I think we have a pretty good indication of John Gruden. We have a loudmouth asshole at 4th. Oh, wait, Kyle DeLeon's not 4th. It's Angelo 14. Oh, I'm joking, Kyle DeLeon. I love you. And then David Chan, Kyle DeLeon, Michael C., Jimmy Villanueva, which will be prime time, and then Mike, and then one of my favorite people in the world, Lucky Luciano, Alex Lucco. So, Solano, where do you want to start with this one? This is a lot.
Okay, so we have to start with Sean and Russ because it's been years of this, right? So Russell goes in, Sean comes in, and it seems to be like Russell can put it together on meet day, and Sean does not, right? So what's going to happen this year? I pay attention to both their YouTubes and their Instagrams. We know that Russell at the moment is dealing with some adductor groin issue, but he's still being able to push some in his training. Looks like he tweaked that again, but it looks like he should be able to compete. And it seems like he's only going to compete if he feels like he can go in and win. So I feel like if he stays on the roster, that's because he believes he can put together the meet that he needs. So fingers crossed, I'm going to act like he's definitely going to be competing. I think he will. And then we have Sean. Training is looking really, really good. Now, my personal opinion is that Sean's mental has always been one big thing that's messed him up on meet day, and a big part of him not putting it together, right? So I watch his YouTube. It seems like he's a little more calm now and not letting powerlifting take over every single inch of his life, which seems to be really good for him. And I think that alone can help him on meet day a lot more, because honest to God, I think if he can mentally just put it together, he'll be fine. So that being said, I'm not sure who's going to take it. I'll give my prediction later on, but those are definitely the top two to talk about besides everyone else who's still amazing. Of course, you have John Gruden, and we don't know exactly what he's going to do, but we got to watch him at the Grand Prix where he killed it. I don't know if y'all heard this. There was another podcast. I don't know if he mentioned our podcast names in here, so I'm not going to mention the podcast. But another podcast talked about how John Gruden literally wasn't even paying attention to to everyone else's numbers. He just wanted to hit a certain total for himself, and he hit that total. Like, he didn't care about what the person behind him was doing or the person in front of him was doing. So I'm like, did you have more in you? And like, you just decided to do this because you felt like it. Like, that is.
Well, no, he didn't, because he missed 2 lifts. So that was his
the
goal.
Only one he had. He maybe had a little more in bench, but he did not have more in squat and deadlift.
Yeah, he missed them. So no, I mean, just on that, I talked to John. He wanted to total 1,800, and then like, all right, so it was King of the Lifts that said this, and I was listening to it like, okay, because he mentioned like, oh, Angelo was sitting there probably putting in the numbers. I'm like, well, no, he told me he was totaling 1,800, and I'm like, okay, I got to total more than 1,800, right? Like, that would his goal was 1,800. I'm like, okay, obviously my goal would have to be higher than that. So like, it didn't really. He has the he wanted to get it with his second deadlift, and he did, but that was really all he had left in him. And I mean, all right. So let's start with the main two though. I guess I'll go with with Russ and Sean as well. Steve, I don't know what you're gonna allow yourself to say, because this is
I'm probably just gonna stay out of this one. Last year, I talked too much last year. I'm just letting you all talk about this one.
I feel like you didn't. I feel that was more Johnny Candido. I think Johnny Candido did, and then everyone who like agreed with Johnny got sucked into that take and that weird fucking profile picture change that really, I think, was the cherry on top of the sundae. But I'll talk about it. I'm competing with it, so I guess I can talk about it. Russ Orhe and Sean. people been messaging me on 2 White Lights and myself. They're like, why are you continuing to bang this tired ass drum? We've seen this before, and it always ends the same way. Russ or he for Sean Noriega. Russ or he wins. Okay, I understand that. Last year at Nationals, when I found that Sean tweaked his hamstring, wasn't able to compete, I was kind of like, you know what? When is it over? When do we start looking at someone else? Did the opportunity pass? And just like in Godfather Part 3, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Sean Noriega is doing that. Objectively speaking, his training is going much better than last year. You can't deny that. Things are looking really good. Last year, they looked really good too. This year, they look just as good, if not better. And people last year were like, I think Noriega, with a really good day, can beat Russ Orhii. And I was one of them. I still predicted Russ to win because it was more so I think Russ's top end is better than Sean's top end. I usually err on the side of that. But it is not a non-storyline. It is not something we shouldn't focus on. Look at what's going on. Nori is hitting PRs. He looks fantastic. Things are going well. How are you not going to say it's going to be the same scenario? Also, last year with our predictions, we said 840. That's what it took to beat Russ, an 840, 845 range. That's what it took to beat Russ. That's what Russ totaled, 843, with a missed deadlift on top of that. We were not off as far as saying what the desired total would be. It's still close between them if you're looking at a certain range. Now you're looking at Russ, whose training is taking a hit because he's not 100%. He said, I think, he's 85%, he'll go at Nationals. I think that's what he said on his YouTube. I was actually at Corrupted while I think he was filming a YouTube, and of course my ear was like kind of like inching in closer to his mouth as he was doing, his intro, and that's what it sounds like. This is a potential for Sean to beat Russ. Now, there's going to be an asterisk if, say, Russ is clearly hurt on the day. People are going to talk, and I don't think it's fair because people compete hurt. I think Russ right now. Continue.
Is Sean not had an? You could. I mean, I'm not discrediting Russ by any means, but you can say the same for Sean every year for like the last 3 years.
Yeah,
he's hurt the last 2 Nationals, and then he screwed up the salt thing.
And no one gives him the excuse, right? No one gives Sean the sympathy. If he fucks up, people tell Sean that he fucked up. You can't really. It's hard. It's a hard situation to be in, right? Because okay, I tweaked my hamstring, but people are gonna say that I made an excuse, which is just it's a shitty situation to be in. And this is like the influencer fucking weight class. Like, people are glued to Sean Noriega and Russ. They're glued to what they do. They love those two lifters. But I mean, saying that this is a non-storyline this year is preposterous. This is a storyline, especially when Russ, I don't think, is going to come into the meet 100%. Right now, his training does not look as sharp as it did last year. And this is Sean has a very good chance of winning here. It's there. Like, you can't ignore it. If you're ignoring it, you're insane. Because I think there's a total here that Sean could hit that will beat Russ. It's still close. It's still a storyline. And Sean Nori's trainings looks really good. So yeah. That's just, with the lead here, 1 and 2. Steve, do you want to maybe talk about 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Because there's a lot here.
I'll give my quick opinions on Russ and Sean. Russ is Russ. I don't care if he's not 100%. He could still come in not 100% and still do something incredible. So I fully expect that.
Considering it's 704 on spot at not 100%, right? Like, that's a thing I want to note. He's still hitting crazy numbers. Like, yeah, 738.
My prediction on
705 squat is amazing.
My prediction on Russ is I think he could very well match what he did last year. If he could go like 840 to 845, I think he very well could do that. I think based on how training's looking, it would be hard to predict he can beat that, but I think he can very well do that again. And if he does, that means he is very much in contention to win, and it's on Sean to be able to execute. The one thing I'll say is, people say this is biased. if Sean was to beat Russ, and Ross isn't 100%, I do not think there should be an asterisk if Sean beats him and totals more than Russ has done at his best. That's where I think there should be an asterisk.
Yeah.
If he beats Russ and they both total less than Russ did last year, then I think you could. I can't deny it. People will say, well, if Russ was healthy, he could have won. But yeah, that's part of the thing. It's going to be interesting. I mean, it's like you said. If people thought Sean could beat him last year, they should definitely think this year because it's probably a better situation. But at the same time, I can't fault anyone, like Lana said, as saying that Sean has to show up. Russ does. I'm not going to bet on Sean. He's got to show up. He's got to show up and do it. That's the only way to be able to be right. So, John versus Angelo. Round 3. Obviously, we don't know what John's going through. We don't know his training. I honestly think it would about if he can about do what he did at the Arnold, if not chip it a little bit, that would be good. I mean, there was rumors that maybe he tweaked his adductor a little bit. I don't know the validity of that. Just like we know he probably didn't deadlift and squat like 720 for reps, like supposedly the myths have said sometimes in training. I will say Angelo's training has looked notably better going into nationals than it did the Arnold. The Arnold, you were definitely dealing with that hip issue. I don't know if you're still dealing with it, but if you are, it doesn't seem to be affecting you as much. Squat looks really solid. Your 727 from last week was maybe the best 727 I've seen you pull. I know you said you weren't as happy with the 730 something you pulled this week, but either way, deadlift looks good. And then bench, I didn't really feel like that kicked in until like the last 2 weeks before Arnold. Like it was like all of a sudden boom and click. You're clicking a little sooner there. You hit 357 and it was pretty solid. So I very much think, I mean, Gruden, I have at 1808. I put Angelo at 1809 because I have Angelo taking that 1 pound chip to be able to beat John. I just think that's where it's trending. Yeah, I'm probably biased because I am in a somewhat romantic relationship with Angelo, so I do tend to side with him. But that's here nor there. Again, we don't know what John's doing. I can't predict anything with John. I see better training from Angelo, and even with the not so great training lean in the Arnold, Angelo was in it. You were in the running. You took a shot at that last pole, wasn't quite there. I see it very much being possible that Angelo takes it here. Especially because bench, I think, is going to be better, as well as I think, again, I don't know why this isn't being announced, but I think there's going to be better variables for benchers at the Nationals from what I have heard through the grapevine.
And also, I'd like to point out, it's not a rule change for people messaging me. No, it's not a rule change. It's something else.
We're about to announce it soon if USAPL does it, because I have very strong information that's happening.
You gotta
better announce it soon.
Yeah, you just gotta tell people just so they know. But again, we're gonna get these random DMs.
I'm giving it 2 more weeks before, or I'm giving it about a week and a half before I just announce it myself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Solana, any takes on me versus Gruden? Because I don't I don't want to say fucking it's weird.
That's okay. So pretty much similar to what Steve is saying, like your training looks like it's going better. I thought your deadlift looked good. I know you were happy with it. It stuck at some point a little bit, but I thought it looked good. Your bench is trending back up. At one point it was trending down. So I'm like, okay, I think you'll at least like get 2.5 keys above what you did. Probably more than that, but like we'll see. With your bench press from the last meets. And squat is looking strong as well. When I put all numbers together, I did just kind of like throw Gruden, okay, like let's say you get 2.5 keys on each lift, which you might, I don't know. And if he does, I do have him still out totaling you barely.
All right. Well, that's fair. I mean, the Arnold is a pretty good scouting report to look at. You know, John Gruden beat me that day. He was better that day. And yeah, I think it's still really close between us. And really, we don't have a quick turnaround. Yeah, I'm not my mistake. We do have a quick turnaround. So what I've said in the past, like when you have 12 weeks, I think that's what it was, 12 weeks, the turnaround from the Arnold to Nationals. You're not going to get a whole lot of surprises, I think, from the both of us. I think you're going to see relatively the same total, potentially some fixes here and there. I think John's bench has improved. Even though he's got a monster bench, and it's improved from Nationals to the Arnold, and I think he could put something on. And again, the rumor with his adductor was just something that was passed along to me. It came from a person who I trust, but again, like, who the fuck knows who told the person that? Like, I would put like 30% stock into that. On that too. Yeah, and I guess this update, like with the hip, it's still there. The knee and hip are still there. It's just manageable now, where we're able to just still hit numbers. We're just trying to get to that off season because we haven't had one in such a long ass time. I will give myself, I'm the most active of all the 82.5 that are competing. There hasn't been a competition that I didn't compete in since Nationals, so maybe I should not do that after Nationals this go round, because I'm feeling the effects of it and feeling the lack of, substantial progress there. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's something to talk about between me and Gruden. Last year was really fun going into that third place battle. I think the 82s was a definite spotlight for a lot of people. I actually want to talk about the regular session though. So yeah. All right, so I'm going to circle back to the other two primetime lifters, but the regular session has David Chan, Kyle DeLeon, Alex Lucko. You guys are going to get a treat in the regular session. Those are three awesome lifters who could possibly total over 800 kilos. David Chan, Kyle DeLeon, one of the best matchups I've seen at a local level in my life. I actually think it's better than Celine Crum and Kyle DeLeon because it was a little bit more back and forth, and Kyle DeLeon was like an unknown. And at that meet, like, whoa, if he totals what he's going to total, he's up there with some of the big contenders. He just missed out on it. David Chan is a little bit more of the executioner. I think he should have been in prime time. He does have a higher nominated total than Michael C. and Jimmy Villanueva. We talked about that, so we don't need to, add more information on why he's not in prime time. But it's going to at least yield an awesome regular session. And then with Alex Lucko, everyone knows that I love Alex. Lucky is the best. He's awesome. Incredible young lifter. He just seems to always make progress. He's incredibly strong. I think, man, he's up there with David Chan and Kyle DeLeon. I actually might venture and say Alex can get himself into a top 5 position from the regular session. That's how good his lifts look. I think he could potentially pass Michael C. and Jimmy Villanueva, who are in the primetime session, both fantastic lifters. Alex is that good. And I think he's capable of totaling over 800 at a point. I think if he totals in the 800 range, he can get himself into a 4th or 5th place, because if I have a poor meet, John has a poor meet, we don't have these big 820, 840 total range to fall back on. I mean, Virginia Pro, I had a shitty meet, and I was able to save face with an 800 total. If I have another shitty meet, Alex, Michael, Jimmy Villanueva, and really David Chan and Kyle DeLeon could surpass that. So they could find themselves into a top 5, which would be a really big accolade for them. I guess I'll go into the next one. I think I'm really most excited to see Michael C. I really want to see him fully develop as an 82.5 kilo lifter. He had a very good track record of 74 kilos. He was kind of the guy potentially to dethrone Atwood. That didn't work out. I think he missed his window of opportunity, but he has a lot of room to grow in 82.5. Big subtotal. The only thing that hurts him is the deadlift. And there is Jimmy Villanueva right there. He's got a big subtotal, struggles a little bit with the squat as far as keeping pace with everyone else, but a solid bench, but he's got the deadlift. So there's a lot to look at. Who's just not, if your name is just not Russ Orhe or Sean Noriega. Like, the regular session of this can, yield some real good top 5 performances. And yeah, this is in my opinion, the most stacked weight class, because I think if you have 520 dots, you're probably not getting mentioned in this preview show. I mean, Uthong Pros, Gage Carrion. Who else is 82.5 who's a beast, and we can't even really give them a spotlight, and they're having a 520 to 530 dots. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one, if we're going to make the comparison to IPF Worlds, if there's one class that legitimately is just straight up better than IPF Worlds, and it's likely the only one, is 82.5. It has arguably the two best. And then if you take John and Angelo and put them against Tim and Delaney, that's honestly a pretty good battle there. And then if you take the people after that, they're probably all like the next up after Tim and Delaney. I think, between Kyle, David, Michael, Jimmy, and Alex, it would not surprise me at all if at least 1 to 2 of those got to 800 kilos. And if that's the case, like you kind of mentioned, Angelo, if you or John or both you and John or Sean or Russ, whoever it may be, slip up, they could sneak in. David had a lot more room in the tank at his meet at WorkAt. Alex has been progressing really, really well. Michael, we'll have to see. I think his potential is incredible at 82.5. I think just life circumstances have been a bit tough. It doesn't seem like he's fully clicked with training right now. But yeah, I very much expect, like, if you were to total 1769 again, I expect at least 2 of these people to probably total over 1769. They're not out of it. They could sneak their way into the top 3. Kind of like in the fact of, like, we didn't know that Delaney would be second or Angela would be third last year. There were some people that were sneaking in the sense of, like, we knew that the capabilities were there, but if some people don't perform up to par, it leaves room for other people to be the dark horse.
Totally agree. And, like, after watching the Arnolds, like, I definitely became a Jimmy Villanueva fan, because that was really cool to watch him get his pro card. Michael C, I really want to see him do well. Like, I think we all do. But like, I want him to have a meet where he can just hit his numbers. Like, I was just looking at his track record, and he just hasn't had a meet where he doesn't at least go, like, he's still be going 6 or 5 for 9. I just want him to, like, okay, you're not cutting weight. Will this be enough for you to just have a solid 9 for 9 day? We shall see.
Well, he's out doubting a lot of us still, right? So, like, that's something to look at too. So.
Imagine 9 for 9.
Yeah, exactly. I think his pull holds him back. That's kind of the thing. Just his pull. Miss lifts and his pull. Like, no matter if he hits his pull or not, like, it's with 82.5, you have to have some sort of pull in order to stay on par. I think it has to be over 700 pounds. Or at least 700 on the dot. That's why John Gruden, I think, has really took that next step in his career, where he's like, I think with maybe another year, I guess circling back to John, I'm sorry if I'm, like, all over the place. Circling back to John, this is one of the first times he's had, like, 2 meets in succession. 2. So I don't think we're not going to see the full year of progress, but also we have, like, the reason why we're seeing this massive uptick in his totals because he's competed 3 times, I think, in 3 years. So he's you could see the potential there when he has a full year to really progress. I think Michael C is growing into it, not quite there, but that deadlift has to develop, or just keep on building up that really nasty subtotal. With weight gain, that squat and bench are going to go up, and that can be a big issue for a lot of the top 82.5s and even 83s in the world. All right. Yeah. Lots to talk about in this weight class, but are we doing predictions here? Or do we have anything else?
I think we're ready.
We're ready. I'm going first. I don't think I got first yet. All right. I'm going with Russell Orhe. I'm going with John Gruden and then Sean Noriega.
All right. You're going to have to explain why John over Sean.
Yes. I just want Sean to actually hit his lifts, and I think he'll miss them. That's it. I think he'll miss at least 2.
That is about the most blunt answer I think we've ever gotten on Two White Lights. But I like it. I actually really like that. All right. Who should go next?
Steve.
I'm going to be the least surprising. I should go last, but shocker. I'm taking Russ first. I'm kidding. Sean. Sean first. Remember, I coach him. Again,
yeah.
if someone's listening and doesn't realize I coach Sean and they think I just hate Russ, I do coach Sean. So, I hope I pick him. Sean, Russ, Angelo. 1, 2, 3.
All right, I'm actually really nervous to give this one because I want to work at Corrupted Classic, and I don't want to set some people. I'm gonna go Sean Noriega first. Last year, I said if I close my eyes, I saw Russ winning it. This year, if I close my eyes, I seen Sean Noriega. And also, I want to give you guys the reason why I'm picking Sean Noriega. Sean at Collegiate Nationals messaged me and was like, hey, man, you want to meet up and get a cigar later? Sean Noriega of 2020 or 2020 and 2021 would have not have asked me that question. He wanted to get a drink and a cigar. He is so wired in, he's so focused that he doesn't do anything that, potentially could hurt training going forward. That is telling me Sean Noriega is a little bit more unbothered. That tells me something, and I think his training is reflecting that. I do see a little bit more of a calm, less neurotic Sean Noriega, and that I'm like, all right, because I think Russ is like the most unbothered lifter. He's the most chill. He's the most calm. He doesn't get rattled. In 2019, he could have easily came unglued with missing his first 2 squats. He didn't. I think he was the most calm guy in his corner because I know from what I've heard, Flex and Tina were like, oh, Jesus Christ, like we got to fix something here. And he actually could see, I think Flex even admitted to me, like he was on pins and needles watching that last squat. Russ was the most calm. Sean Noriega is adopting that. He's intense. He's a driven individual. I think sometimes that could hurt someone. Sean's training seems to be going very well, and especially with the Russ. I mean, he says he's just not 100%, right? Like you got to take that into account. Like if someone's coming in not 100%, and it's clear that they're not, I think I'll have to take the guy who's coming in 100%. Still going to be a battle though. He's still Russ Orhe. And third, I'm going to pick myself for the first time in career. Angelo Fortino. Do it.
I love it.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah. I won't give you any other thing.
I thought you were going to go pick Alex Lucko just because you love him so much. I should have.
But if Alex beats me, I don't think I could ever show my face in a group chat again. That would be rough. If Alex, they will never let me hear the end of it. And he won't either. Alex, he's a sweet kid, but he talks his shit. And actually, it digs a little deeper because he's so nice. When he starts talking shit, it hurts more. Because he's so nice and he doesn't do it. It's like, I don't know if these insults and comebacks are good, but because he's saying it, they're good. But yeah, I'll put myself third. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Training is decent. God, I don't know what's going on, but fuck, I got hurt last year because I didn't pick myself. I got to do it this year. So, all right.
I love it.
I think that'll do it for this episode. A long episode. Hopefully the next one's shorter. My girlfriend's going to beat my ass for these previews, but yeah, tune in Wednesday. We'll have 90 kilos and 140 kilo and up. We'll see you guys next week or on Wednesday. Peace.